Welcome to the Springs in the Desert podcast. We're those friends that you can take with you wherever you are on the path of infertility. Welcome back to the Springs in the Desert podcast. I am Jillian, your host, and I am so excited to be here with you today with our co-founder, founding Mama Ann. How are you today, Ann?
I'm doing great and always glad to be with you too.
I am excited to have a conversation today. Sometimes we in the ministry, we get so into the big vision of where God is asking us to serve. And I think it's really helpful to peel back some of those layers and get back to the basics. In the next few conversations that we're going to have on the podcast are back to the basics, not only for those who are experiencing infertility, but their families, and also those who are serving at the diocesan level. And that's who we are talking to today. So listeners, if you work at a diocese, if you know someone who works at a diocese, or if you are part of a diocese, please, or an eparchy for that matter, for those our brothers and sisters like Ann and Father Paul, please send this to those who are working at that church level, who are organizing things for the diocese or eparchy. Please send this to them. This is going to be some really practical ways that they can, and easy practical ways that they can start support for those on the path of infertility or increase the awareness that's happening in their diocese. So, Anne, let's just start. Why is it important for diocesan leaders to acknowledge infertility in their programming, on their website, social media? Why is that even important?
It's important because there are people within the diocese, in the parishes, who are struggling with infertility, who are dealing with miscarriage. And one of the first places they go is to their diocesan website, usually to the Family Life Office. Now, I know a lot of our listeners who are walking this path, you and I, Jillian, know this too, right? Like you get on your phone and you're Googling at 2 a.m. Or I can remember even like being in my office and like anytime I could just sneak a look at a blog post or at something, right? Because when you're going through this, it tends to be on your mind all the time. And so you're constantly out there looking for resources, for help, for something that will touch your own experience. And especially for Catholics, one of the places that we go to first is the church, maybe to our own parishes, but especially to a Family Life Office in a diocese. And so, listen, having worked at an archdiocese and a diocese for many years, I understand that individual offices are not in control of their websites and a lot of those kinds of things. But I think what I would like diocesan leaders to know is that people are looking to you for that information and that support. So I know we'll get into some specifics, but just top line thought, you are a place where these women, these couples want to not only meet Christ, but they want to meet support and compassion and just somebody to be with them to say, we understand that this is hard. Maybe we don't understand the full breadth of your particular experience, but we know that you need support. And so we are here.
Yeah, so beautifully said. I've worked at the diocesan level, at the parish level, and I think sometimes it can feel overwhelming. All of the situations, programs, ministries that you could offer and discerning those. And then sometimes funding is an issue. Sometimes it's maybe not on the goals for your bishop or your pastor to implement that new program, or maybe it's total kind of ignorance, or just you don't know that's something that your people need. And I don't use ignorance in a negative way, it's just out of sight, out of mind. And so when it gets brought to you, or you just might not have that particular like individual experience. And so when that's brought to you, it might not click how beneficial that could be, or the fruit that could come from including that particular topic. And of course, we're talking about infertility here, into your programming, into your materials, having it as part of your online presence. And so, yeah, I want to say, leaders in the church, we see you, we hear you, and we're so thankful for the work that you're doing. It's so important. And what we want to do is to try to make your job a little bit easier. We have so many resources at Springs in the Desert to help you implement some support for infertility. And we're going to get into that. And we're here for you. You don't have to do this alone. You really do not have to recreate the wheel. There are things that we have learned as a ministry that are helpful, and some things that aren't as helpful for those who are walking on this path. And we just want to give them to you. We want to support you so you don't have to go through the years of learning, trial and error that perhaps we have. So, and let's start with, you had mentioned website control and having some infertility support on the website. So what are some ways that diocesan leaders, bishops, even parish leaders, like how can they incorporate infertility support on their website?
Yeah, and I think that is probably like the lowest hanging fruit and has the least cost. In fact, it probably has no cost if you already are a parish or a diocese that has a webpage. And just to go back to what you said about the sort of awareness or lack of awareness or kind of ignorance, meaning just don't know. I worked in an archdiocese for 7 years in the family life office. Most of that time I was single, so infertility did not cross my mind at all. And even after I was married and we started experiencing infertility, I still didn't put that together with the work that I was doing in the family life office. And so it's not necessarily intuitive, right? That infertility is something that necessarily needs to be addressed apart from NFP or restorative reproductive medicine or that sort of thing. In fact, I can say that I was really into my job. I loved it. I loved working with couples and doing marriage prep and all those things, but I didn't care about infertility. I didn't even give it a second thought. And so it wasn't even in my mind that this might be something that people across our archdiocese were even dealing with, much less needed support with. So if that would have crossed my mind, immediately I would have said, well, then we have, these different methods of NFP, or we have these doctors, or gosh, we have Catholic charities they can go and adopt. So just to say that if you are a diocesan leader and this isn't on your list of priorities because you just haven't thought about it, I get that. And so that's not a sort of a lack on your part. I think it's just where the conversation is. Talking about infertility, especially the way we do in this ministry, is not normal, right? Like it's not a part of our parish or our diocesan culture. So I just wanted to put that out there because I think that it's important. And then, okay, so I'm at that stage now, like maybe I didn't know, or it just didn't cross my mind, or there's so many other things that we have to do. Like I can't start an infertility ministry in the diocese, right? So I think the website is one of the easiest things to do. And I think sometimes it feels like it's so easy that it can't be effective. Like that can't possibly mean anything. But it really does, because if people are searching and they want to go to the church and the local church to see what's available, and they go to your website and they don't find anything, or they find only quote unquote solutions, it can be very discouraging. And so having something on your website, I think, for infertility is really important. The internal bureaucracy of who has control and your relationship with the IT department, I know that varies from place to place. But if you are able to at least get together with IT or communications and carve out a little bit of space on your website, I think that can make a huge difference. And we can talk about what that might look like. And Jillian, I know that you put together a guide to share with dioceses so that they don't have to come up with it on their own or recreate the wheel. So I think it would be great for you to share a little bit about that too.
Yes. I want to lay out a couple of levels, if you will, of website support. So as Anne said, that it's helpful to have infertility mentioned apart from NFP, NAPRO providers, medical support. That's needed, and that's super important. But we are body and soul. And what we provide as Springs in the Desert, if you're just hearing us for the first time, this podcast is the first time, we offer accompaniment, spiritual support. Because yes, infertility likely has some biological, medical information that needs to be investigated, but that also affects the heart and soul and the marriage and the grief and the spiritual life of that person or couple. And so having the level one, what I would encourage, level one is have a button, a tab, a document, a link right next to, right alongside your other resources, whether it's a family planning page or if it is, maybe you do have an infertility page, but you haven't added that grief support, we have information. We have a link. You could link simply just to the Springs in the Desert website. You could add infertility support, accompaniment, that just have it right next to everything so that when your parishioners or when those who are in your diocese are coming to your website, they see that is just as important. And it's part of that experience is to not just visit your doctor, not just learn about your body or see a practitioner for charting, but also to take care of your soul throughout this. So that is level one. If you already have maybe separate pages or you already have links for that, I really encourage, I think the best option, if you can make it swing, is to have a separate page for infertility or at least a separate section on that page. So level one would be just right alongside a button in the list. It's included in what you have. I would say level two would be a section on a page, its own area where you can have some verbiage. Maybe even your bishop or your pastor has written a little note to someone who is reading that and needs that resource, that there is a link. Maybe you can embed a video from Springs in the Desert or link to our podcast, just a section on the webpage, which is typically, if you haven't built a website, that's not too difficult to add to an already existing page. It wouldn't take a ton of time. It does take a little bit more than just adding a link or adding a separate button, but that shouldn't take too much of IT or communications time to make that happen. Level three, as I said, would be the ideal, right? The encouragement. Anything though is better than nothing. Would be to have a separate page for infertility. There's a lot of reasons that I would suggest this, but the first is that when someone is looking for infertility support, they are likely already going to doctor's appointments. They are likely already, and potentially for years. And what they are looking for is something to nourish their marriage. And so to have a separate page that someone can go to, that their mind doesn't have to filter through all of the rest of the options that are available to them on the physical side, can be really helpful. And secondly, you can include a lot more on a whole page than you can with just a section. And so we have a guide that is free. We have a digital toolkit that lays out that website that includes parish or diocesan resources and support or verbiage. It includes the universal church. It includes documents that people can read from the church. It includes scriptural references so they can pray through this. And also, of course, practical support, like things that we offer here at Springs in the Desert. So that would be my suggestion for a website. Do you have any other thoughts there, Anne?
Yeah, one other thing, and that is where to situate all of that. And sometimes I'll go to websites from dioceses, and I'm just so glad that they have an infertility page or resources, and it's great. But very often, there'll be a number of different menu items, marriage and marriage preparation and enrichment and different categories. And very often I will see infertility under the tab of grief or grief support. And no doubt there is grief, sadness, lots of different emotions that are associated with infertility, whether or not it's a temporary or a permanent situation. Because even if someone eventually gets pregnant, while they're going through it, there is a grieving process and sadness and all of those things. I would encourage infertility resources to not go under grief. It's better situated really under marriage and family, marriage, whatever those tabs are. Listen, if it's under grief, it's fine. I don't know that someone searching will necessarily find it or they'll think to go there, particularly because very often when you're going through the experience of infertility, you're not thinking grief. You're not even thinking that grief is something you're allowed to feel. So that's just my thought. It might be better placed under a more general marriage, because really infertility impacts marriage. It impacts it negatively. It also can impact it positively in many ways, or it's not positive, but there are positive and good things that can come even out of a cross like this. So I think where it's located is also important.
Yeah, that's so great. And to say that infertility is part of our understanding of marriage because up to 1 in 5 couples are experiencing this. This isn't a question if anyone could use these resources, it's who could use these resources, because this is happening in your parish, at your diocese, wherever you are at. So yeah, where it's situated is helpful for people to actually use those resources and to think through the user's experience versus how we would categorize that experience is helpful there. That's for sure. I do also, there's sort of 2 tracks then. So if you have this on your website, if you're not already sprinkling in infertility awareness into your social media strategy, that would be the next place to start. Even a simple link on your social media, on your Facebook, to your infertility website, even once a quarter, even just adding it into your strategy would be great. You can also simply just share posts that Springs in the Desert has shared. We have a public page for anyone to view, and you can just reshare those posts. You can link them. You can just share them in whatever capacities you're already using, wherever you are online. You do not have to recreate the wheel. You can just set a reminder, as you do for all of your other tasks that you're incorporating into your social media strategy, to include infertility awareness. Just even if someone saw it once a year, is going to make a difference. And so just including that, I think would be the next step wherever you're at, is just add it into your social media strategy. However, I am from North Dakota, and we have a lot of rural parishes who do not have a website. They do not have social media accounts. Really, their only outward facing communication is the bulletin or some kind of newsletter. That's okay. We see you too. You're working hard and you need ways to support those who are in your parish, because there are people in your parish or your diocese. If it's smaller, the diocese that I'm a part of is in the United States, tied for the smallest in the nation. And so sometimes you just don't have as many resources. So if you have a bulletin that you are adding announcements to, we have some free bulletin announcements that you can incorporate for just some general awareness. And you could just schedule this into your bulletin announcements and add it slowly. And if it's really resonating, you could add it more frequently and make sure that people know that while you might not be able to offer a sort of a well-rounded ministry in your parish because of resources or the number of staff members, that there are resources out there for others and they are available to you. And we want to support that and encourage you to go there. So I want to make it very abundantly clear that no matter what size of parish or diocese you are a part of, there are many steps that are, as Anne said, likely free and might just take a little bit of time. Sometimes it's just a couple of minutes, and if you're building out a whole web page, that might take a day or two to collaborate with people, but it is well worth it to just start including some support at that level.
Yeah, and to your point too, Jillian, we have it down. We've got the language, we have the verbiage. We have 2 places in particular on our website, and we'll link them in the show notes: Infertility Awareness and Digital Toolkit. So we have bulletin announcements. Specifically, we have some general ones, but specifically ones for Mother's Day and Father's Day. So you can just pull those out. If you are in a diocesan office, put it in the next mailing so that parishes receive it. If you work for a parish, go to the website and grab it and put it in your bulletin. We have lots of other verbiage that you can use if you have social media, or just a little blurb in your bulletin, or to put on a flyer. It's all there for you and it's already done. And listen, you're not plagiarizing us. We are freely giving it to you because we want the word and also the support to get out there. Another thing that we have are sample intentions for the prayer of the faithful. Now, there's a whole list of them. So we're not saying you have to put all of them in all at once. You can grab some to use at different times during the year, at Mother's Day and Father's Day, during National Infertility Awareness Week, which is the last week in April, all different times of the year that you might want to put one of those intentions in. So you don't have to come up with all of the resources on your own or recreate the wheel. We have it all there for you.
Yes, I think that is so well said. And just use the resources the communication avenues you're already using. We understand that it can be very challenging if you don't have a website to build a website. That's not what we're asking you to do. If you have a website, it can be challenging to change it significantly. Also not asking you to do that, just to incorporate what you can in the places that you are already using, to just add a little bit about infertility, because it is needed and it will serve those that you are serving. So yes, so well said. And I think then the strategy, if you're struggling to figure out when do I use these resources? Anne already said Father's Day, Mother's Day are really great times to use that, to acknowledge those who are in the pews, who are carrying this cross, that we see you, we love you, and we know that you are here. National Infertility Awareness Week is also really great. And honestly, when you start sharing about these resources, people are going to start being a part of that conversation. And you will learn from those within your parish when they might be needing extra support. Sometimes Christmas is challenging when so many of the readings are about the infant Jesus, which are so beautiful, but can be really challenging to wrestle with in prayer. And so that's just one example. There could be other times. There could be other times in the liturgical calendar. There could be particular saints that are really resonating with your parish or your diocese, and you can use that to serve those who are listening. So that would be, my sort of communication strategy suggestions. And thanks, Anne, for Prayer of the Faithful. That's super important to include there.
Yeah, and I would also say that we're here also to assist in any way we can. We have done diocesan webinars. We have done webinars specifically for family ministry personnel in parishes and dioceses. We have traveled to do clergy workshops, but we can also do them online. We can talk to seminarians, anything that can help create awareness and also help to give you the tools to better accompany those that you encounter in your parish or in the diocese. Please reach out to us because we want to help you and we want to share our resources and also our expertise, which comes from our personal experience and also the experience of listening to the people who are in your pews. And so we're here to advocate on their behalf too. So anything that we can do to help you, just reach out and we'd love to meet with you and talk about how we can collaborate.
Absolutely. That would be phase 2. If you're doing all of those things and you're feeling really great about your communications, you've got a web page or a section on your website for infertility. Yeah, I would say, how can we educate? How can we equip those who are then working at the diocesan level and at the parish level to extend that support and bring that support from online to in person? And yeah, that's a webinar could be for one. If you are a director and you just want some education, praise be to God. We would love to talk to you. We would love to share and equip you to be able to start incorporating some more practical opportunities within your parish. If you've already done that, perhaps ask if we could be a part of your clergy conference, or if there are, maybe it's at the seminarian level, speaking to a seminary. We've also done that, and that could be really beautiful in their formation. And if you've already done all of those things and you feel like we're ready to be able to offer some support, we would love to offer a retreat in your diocese. We would love to help you start a small group that's available for your parish or your diocese. We are well equipped to do those things. And there's so many opportunities yet to bring that online presence to the practical in-person environment. And that would be phase 2 if you are ready for that.
And I would also say, if you listen to all of this and all these resources are great, but there's a particular question or a particular need in your parish or in your diocese, let us know, because we're also always learning, and we're always learning what the needs are and wanting to meet them and creating new resources or fine-tuning presentations to meet whatever those needs are. So let us know, because we want to continue to grow not just our content, but our ability to meet the people who need that support exactly where they are. And that includes you as a pastor, as a family life director, or anybody who is working with these couples.
Yeah, and before we wrap up this episode, the last, what I would say might end up being a phase 3, 4, 5, wherever you're at, I just want to touch on marriage prep for a moment. And this could be a whole conversation in and of itself. But I would say the best way to support those in your diocese is including conversations about infertility within marriage prep. This is super necessary for a lot of reasons, but there are going to be couples probably in every cohort or round of marriage prep, every weekend seminar that you have, that will experience infertility or loss in some capacity in their marriage. And it's really helpful to be able to meet them ahead of that and say, we recognize. And of course, that's never the hope, but you probably you're not planning for this. And we hope that doesn't happen for you either. But if it does, there is support. There is a God who loves you in that experience, but incorporating it into a talk or inviting Springs to share a short conversation for marriage prep, I think would be a really great and perhaps the most helpful way that you could include infertility into the conversation. However, I know that there are a lot of steps to change what a retreat looks like, or to alter talks, we definitely understand that. We've been a part of it. We've planned those things. But I would say, and Anne, I'd love to hear what you think about that. I think that could be the most beneficial thing for a diocese to incorporate for infertility awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say two things. Number one is, of course, nobody anticipates, expects, except some people at your marriage prep may be anticipating that because of more women charting even before they are engaged or get married, because they're having extremely painful periods or other symptoms and they get a diagnosis like PCOS or something else that could impact their fertility negatively. They might already know that this is a possibility. And so there are going to be people in marriage prep who are going to hear the NFP talk and all about avoiding pregnancy and be thinking, yeah, but I know that I have this diagnosis and I don't want to avoid, like we want to have children. So that's number one. Number two is, I think, a great way to introduce all of this. And we're not suggesting an hour-long talk about infertility by any means, but especially when we talk about NFP, it can be so often about how to avoid becoming pregnant. To mention infertility, that could be a possibility, just as you explained, Jillian, but also to talk about fruitfulness more broadly, because we're all called to fruitfulness. And I think this more expansive understanding of fruitfulness can be helpful for not just for the couple who will go on to have 1 or 2 or 10 or however many children, but just generally speaking, to know that when we're married, it's not just about the two of us or even our little family. It's really about how the love that is generated in this family reaches out into the rest of the world, reaches out into the church. And what a beautiful, positive, and life-giving message that is. And so I think that more expansive understanding of fruitfulness is a wonderful way to work in some mention of infertility within marriage prep.
Absolutely. I would add, this was my personal experience. We had our marriage prep weekend, which was beautiful. And as you said, the NFP conversation was very much about how to know your body so that you can avoid conception in the times that you were not ready to grow your family. And what I needed to be told, or what would have been helpful to hear, is that this can also be, right, a diagnostic tool. This is why you have NFP on your website. This can help me actually achieve. We don't love the word achieve because the connotations around that word, but it actually can help me figure out when the best times are for my husband and I to focus on conception in those moments. And so even just being aware of the conversations you're having and how those tools can be used, and that there are typically two sides to that, right? NFP is not just to avoid. Knowing how to your body and to chart is not just for that singular purpose, that it can be used to help couples to grow their family when the Lord is inviting them to do that.
Or to find out that there's something wrong.
Yes. That's absolutely right. That it is it's a diagnostic tool. I just came back from the American Association of Pro-Life OBGYN conference, and so many of the conversations, right, were about charting, that the cycle, a woman's cycle is considered the 5th sign of health. And if there is something within the woman's body that isn't quite ordered to God's design, that there's something that is off, it can be used as a tool to help them receive treatment, and the appropriate treatment, the right treatment, to find exactly what is wrong. It's incredible. And so just being aware of the conversations you're having at that marriage prep level, I think, is really important and can make a huge impact, because marriage prep is not only preparing couples for marriage, it's preparing them to be leaders in the church, that their marriage is going to be one that is going to build the body of Christ, build the kingdom of heaven for your diocese. And so just being aware of that, I think, is really crucial in this experience. Well, listeners, as you can tell, we are passionate about infertility awareness. Yes, we are so grateful that you are here. If you are a leader at the parish or diocesan level, I really encourage you to reach out to us. You can reach us anytime, whether that's Facebook or Instagram, but email info@springsinthedesert.org. We would love to chat with you. We would love to support you and get resources in your hands and make it as easy as possible. We talk to pastors, we talk to bishops, we can talk to your communications leaders. We are here for you. We're here to support you. And if you, listener, are someone who doesn't work at a parish level or diocesan level, and you are asking, well, how do I connect Springs with my diocese, with my bishop, with my pastor? As I said at the beginning, please send them this episode. We would love to just give them these ideas as quickly as possible and allow them to just make these small adjustments to what they're already doing. If you are feeling bold, you can go ahead and send an email to your director of family life, whoever is organizing marriage prep or that family life in your diocese would be the person to talk to. There's a lot of different names and titles for that person, but if they are organizing marriage prep, that would be a really great place to start. We have an email template that we would love to help you and put into your hands so that you can send that confidently. If you're feeling extra courageous, give them a call. Give them a call, even leave a voicemail if they're not there, call them, or share the digital resources that we have on our website. There's many ways that you can help us make that happen, or connect us by email. You can certainly send an email. It says, "Hi, diocesan leader. This is really important to me, and I'd love if I could connect you with Springs in the Desert who can help you incorporate this into your programming." Easy peasy. It'll take some courage, but easy peasy, and we can take it from there. So thank you, Anne, for having this conversation. And listeners, please know we're praying for you. We love you. And of course, most importantly, so does God. We'll see you next time on the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us for this Springs in the Desert podcast episode. We would be so grateful if you took a minute to rate and review us so that we can reach more listeners. Don't forget to check out our social media pages on Facebook and Instagram, and go to our website, springsinthedesert.org, where you can sign up for our newsletter and community prayer list, read our blog, and register for virtual and in-person events. Most importantly, remember that God loves you so much, and so do we.